Welcome to this new section of the Photoshop course. In this one, we're going to be looking at editing photos. So this is something that I haven't really touched upon that much, but it's a major reason why someone would actually use Photoshop to actually edit photos and not just for graphic design purposes, which is kind of what we've been looking at up until now. I will say that in later on in the course, there are going to be more in-depth sections on editing photos, such as editing raw photos, photo retouching, which is more like beauty kind of editing. But I wanted to add this section here now in the course because I think it's important for you to start to understand the workflow and the different options for editing a photo, because there are so many different options. Like I've said before, there's 1,000 ways to do the same thing in Photoshop, and here are the ways that I suggest you do it. Now, to follow along, I suggest going to Project 3 and opening up this San Dimas Towers photo. Now, I would start out with the JPEG image. We're going to look at this .raf file in just a minute in another lesson, and that is a raw camera file. And the way you edit those photos in Photoshop, or can edit those photos in Photoshop, is a little different. So just right click and open up this photo in Photoshop. Now, this is a photo I shot. It was actually a recent photo at the time of recording this. I live in sunny Southern California, but once a year or so we get this nice snow on the mountains behind us. And in San Dimas, where I live, we have these water towers, and this was kind of a bucket list shot that I've been wanting to get for a long time, of these water towers with the snowy background. So first things first, in this video, I just want to show you the different options for editing a photo. One is with adjustment layers. So if you click on this little half circle icon, you have all of these different adjustments. And we kind of saw these before, but you have basic ones like your exposure or curves or levels, which all basically do the same thing in terms of adjusting the exposure or the brightness or the darkness of your photo. What this does is it adds this layer on top of your photo layer, and it actually becomes just an adjustment, and it applies to anything underneath this layer at this time anyways. So if we have another photo between this adjustment and this background layer, it's also going to affect that layer. So you can layer these adjustments on top of each other. You want to bring up the saturation of an image, you can do that, and you can see that you can turn them on and off. And this is a non-destructive way of editing. In Photoshop, there used to be ways to actually burn in these edits to your photo and not be able to kind of undo them. And I would always suggest doing some sort of non-destructive editing where you can undo an edit without having to undo a bunch of steps that you've already done. So that's non-destructive editing. There are ways to edit your image in Photoshop that are destructive in the sense that it's actually burned in. And I don't really suggest using these unless it's like a quick edit for a project that you're never going to have to change. But those are under this image menu. So if you go up to the image menu and then under adjustment, change, and then you choose, it's the same sort of effects. Say exposure, we decrease the exposure, click OK. That is burned into that image, because now say we go into that and we want to add some saturation, we increase the saturation. But then we say, oh, it's a little bit dark, so let's brighten it back up. Let's go back to our adjustments, exposure, bring up the exposure. What's actually happening is it's like adding multiple effects, multiple layers on top of each other, and you can't undo it. And if you did that back and forth a bunch of times, it would start to look super distorted. Now, this might look different. I'm just undoing all that. If I right-click this and say Convert to Smart Object. A smart object is a Photoshop layer that has and includes additional data in it that allows you to do non-destructive editing. So if this layer is a smart object, I can go up to my image, adjustments, exposure, increase my exposure, select OK, and that becomes a smart filter that we can turn on or off. And we can add another adjustment. Say we have our saturation, and we can increase our saturation, and this photo looks terrible. But you can always get back to these different filters down here and adjust them just by double clicking them, and it'll bring that filter settings up. You can turn them on or off. And that's a better way of editing a photo. So I would suggest either doing the adjustment layer route or converting your photo to a smart object before editing your photo, so you're not doing destructive editing. So those are a couple different workflows for editing photos. I'll leave it up to you to decide which one you want to do. I find myself using the adjustment layers is better in the long run a lot of times, but if you want to kind of keep your layer panel a little bit more organized, using the smart filters is also a great option. So in the next lessons, we're going to be going over sort of these specific layers that I think are most important to understand, so you know how to fix a photo and make it look even better. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you then.